Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Sunday Talks within the Nine-Sided Circle. This is when we do our group discussions. Everyone's free to join in. We usually have our regulars that we know and love, and we also welcome anyone who wants to pop in who's new. But you can find us on YouTube. If you end up liking our content, please let us know. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe, press the little bell for notifications. But for today, we are going to be talking about the second of our axes of meditation. So this is going to be our stillness and movement meditation. But before we get into that, let me introduce myself. I'm Nora Kyle. I'm one of the teachers of the Nine-Sided Circle, along with my fellow teacher.
That would be me, Mushtaq Ali.
Yep. So Mushtaq is going to lead us in this discussion today because as a martial artist and a master teacher of martial arts, he's well positioned to lead this discussion today. So how would you like to get started, Mushtaq? Is there anything you want to say or update about before we get into the subject matter?
As a matter of fact, yes.
Go for it.
So I want to recap last week. And in order to do that, I am going to pull up the screen share and pull up this image, which should be popping in any moment. Let me know when you all see it.
Got it.
Okay.
I've got it. Yep.
So you see here, last week, we talked about tight focus, broad focus along this axis. And this week, we're going to talk about moving and still. And I'm going to, there's your broad focus and tight focus. And here's where we are this week. Meditation can contain from complete stillness to entirely moving. And each of these does a particular thing. If you are focusing on stillness, this is very much like Zazen, for instance, where you are just sitting. You are attempting to make both your mind and your body still. And what that does is it allows you to turn your awareness inward very, very effectively. Now, if you follow the line down here, somewhere in here, you're going to get Theravadan meditations where you sit and walk. You combine these two things. And then over here, you're going to get something like Tai Chi Chuan, which is can be seen as a meditative practice that is completely in motion. And over here in moving meditation, what you get is being more outward with your meditation, but at the same time, quiet in the mind, if that makes sense. Following so far?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Thumbs up, nods, yeah.
Good. So I'm going to close this out real quick now that we've had a chance to look at this. And here we are again. So, meditation and stillness. Who here has done Zazen type sitting meditation? Good. So you know there's no chanting of mantras. There's no looking anywhere. Maybe there's a focus on the breath, but in its purest form, it is described literally as just sitting.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like you all to take a moment to just sit up straight, get everything kind of in a comfy position, and just allow everything to be as it already is, and just sit. If a thought comes up, allow it to come up and pass through. If you feel something in your body, allow it to be there and pass through. Don't do anything with your breath, but if you notice your breath, that's okay. And just take a moment to sit like that. And what you'll notice is that your attention will tend to turn inward from the world. You won't lose the world because the world's still here, but your attention will turn inward until your attention turns all the way around and looks at your presence. And that's what you're looking for with meditation in stillness, is having your attention turn to your own presence. And when you feel like you have that, take a nice big deep breath and come back. Because otherwise it's going to be a very quiet talk, which is maybe not so bad. So what did you notice with that? Did you notice anything? Was it hard? Was it easy? Don't everybody talk at once.
Zainab, what did you notice?
Noticing the internal, the pulse, the body heartbeat, and then mind still wanders around, but it's oh, I'm here. It's nice.
Yep. It's a style of meditation that I enjoy, as long as my body is able to be comfortable, because sometimes that's where it gets difficult for me, is that at least in traditional Zazen, it's pretty formalized, and that can be difficult for people with mobility issues. So I probably myself need to relax about that a little bit. But yeah, I enjoy it because, yeah, it's just like, really. But what about you, Nancy?
I thought I was pretty distracted, but I do have a sense of peace, so at least some fraction of me was probably actually meditating.
Oh, there you go.
How about you, Zoha?
I was able to have my attention on my presence, but it just made me think that it's probably Moshtar's voice helping me to keep there.
Oh, yeah.
That does help, yes.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see how this week I can practice that.
Yeah, well, the nice thing about being talked through it is that you're kind of learning on the fly, but my voice is not necessary at all for you to do this kind of meditation. We actually combine the stillness with the silent sound axes, the vertical axes, which is going to be a lot of fun to talk about next week because it includes things like sama.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who don't know, Mushtaq, that is?
Sama literally means to listen.
Yep.
And the thing that most people are familiar with is the Mevlevi Sama, which includes the dervishes doing their turning, plus a lot of really, really good music.
Yep. Yes, definitely. Ilmar, how about you?
I mean, I find this very enjoyable. Partly because it's, you know, the focus becomes not dispersed, but it's you know, it enlarges the focus. The other thing that that I always like about this is there's the sense of agency drops out. A lot of other things I tend to do, I intend to do it in order to achieve some sort of end, whereas here it's sort of there's no sense of agency, and consequently no sense of a particular persona doing it, which I rather value. That's my take on it.
For me, this is, I have to admit, my least favorite form of meditation. I am not a stillness guy per se. I enjoy a few minutes of it, but I would much rather be way over on the other pole doing Tai Chi or Qi Kung meditation, which I find satisfies me a lot more, for lack of a better way to describe it. It's more filling. And if you have meditation for breakfast, you want it to fill you up.
When you do that kind of moving meditation, I mean, the only one that I do that's all similar to that is Qigong, but do you have a sense of agency involved in that? That
I'm not sure what you mean, because I don't have any loss of agency when I'm sitting.
Okay. In that case, scratch the question, because we don't have a ground to talk about them.
Yeah, I suspect that that's going to be something that is, well, probably not unique to your experience, but something that you're more directed towards.
Yeah. Yeah, because what it leads to for me is identifying with a particular persona, and whereas when that sense of agency drops away, the impulse to identify with a particular persona, say a Tai Chi master, or a Qigong student, which I guess I am, and when I'm doing that, that doesn't seem to exist when I'm just doing sitting. There's a sense of there not being a doer when I'm just sitting. Whereas I still definitely have a sense of being a doer, trying to learn a particular motion. I mean, it comes out very much when I'm trying to learn some of your stick fighting moves. I mean, here I am trying very hard to. And I imagine that's not necessarily the case.
No, as a matter of fact, for me, the doer kind of disappears in the doing.
Yeah, and that I find that's true for me in dance sometimes, but it's not. But I guess because I'm still very much in the learning mode on something like Qigong, for example.
Yeah, and it might not be the best thing for you at this moment for doing meditation. I mean, it's like, if I want to do profound meditation, I'm not going to choose a sitting silent meditation. It's just not going to do it for me for any length of time. I'm going to be out there doing a very long, very slow physical meditation. Maybe going through a very long Tai Chi form, or even any of my stick movements can become meditation. The trick is, and this is where we get into over here in movement. Now, I want you all to try this. Put up a hand like this. Oh, somebody's here. Cherie. So, we have a hand here. Now, move it over here. Now, move it back here. Move it over here. What do you notice?
I stopped noticing the rest of my body.
Yeah. But what did you notice in the moving of your hand? If you are like most people, you pretty much what you notice is the start of the movement and the end of the movement. And everything in here is kind of empty. Now, in moving meditation, what you want to do is imagine that there are an infinite number of awareness points between here and here. And you want to be aware of all of them. We say that when you're aware of the infinite number of points that you can touch upon in an arc of movement, that movement is awake. If you just go beginning, end, that movement is asleep. So the reason that many Qigong exercises and Tai Chi is done so slowly is that it can give you the time and opportunity to be aware of that movement. And what you are trying to do is infuse every movement of your body with that awareness from start to finish, so that you realize that there is no start and finish. This arc of movement starts here and it moves through to here, but then it can move up and across again. And each of these is just a node in a continuous movement. And the more you allow your awareness to suffuse every point of the arc, the more awake you become. And this is why we like so much the moving exercises, the moving meditations, at least if we are me.
Well, I think many of us, I'm not speaking necessarily for everyone here, but I'm thinking about American culture, sometimes extending to quote unquote Western culture. There's a lot of dissociation from the body. So there may be a sense of alienation from all of those nodes. And so yes, even though it may not be a favorite for us to do moving meditation, that may be what we would benefit most from in some ways.
And that's why we here at the school love walking meditation and running meditation. Walking is easier for people to learn, but running is more fun. And even bike riding meditation.
Yeah. But I personally think even if those things are off limits, you can make a meditation out of the movement that comes from washing dishes or moving up and down stairs or taking a shower, anything that is a constant flow of motion. But if we want to, if we're going to talk about formal practice, then things like you were saying Tai Chi and Qigong, things like that can work well as
yep. Some aspects of Silat also work well.
Mushtaq, did you talk about the finger circles?
Oh, you should tell us about that. This is something that I learned from Cherie that was so fun and is a perfect sitting, moving meditation. Please tell us.
So, your hand, bring your thumb to your little fingertip pad. Become aware of drawing a circle with your thumb on the tip of your little finger. Stop. Reverse the circle using the thumb to draw a circle on the tip of your little finger. Stop. Now ask yourself, what's doing the feeling? The little finger or the thumb? The next part, keep the thumb really still and use the little finger to draw a circle on the tip of the thumb. Do not let the thumb move. Do it very slowly. Don't let that thumb move. Now stop. Watch your own hand. Reverse the circle. Stop. You will notice that your thumb wants to do all the movement. You'll notice your little finger will be doing something different. And you do this for every single finger. And you do it slowly. You can't gloss over this. You have to become aware of what is moving. Is it the finger or is it the thumb? I just gave you a rude finger then, sorry. Which one is doing the circle? Is it left or right, clockwise, anti-clockwise? The quality of your fingerprint. Can you feel your fingerprint? Are you sweating? Is it dry? Is it rough? Is it soft? Is it hard? There's qualities that you become very aware of and it pulls your focus right in. So that's one of the things I do for when I get too busy in the head. This is a great exercise. You do it with both hands, all your fingers and thumbs. Try that.
Yep. And Cherie showed me this exercise maybe, what, 8 months ago, something like that?
Oh,
It was a while back.
Yeah.
And I've done it almost every day since because it's brilliant. It really gets your, especially if you're like me and you work with your hands, it gets your awareness into the fine motor movements that you are usually not conscious of. And it is a moving meditation that you can do sitting on a bus. So there you go. That's a freebie from Cherie.
Thank you, Cherie.
Yeah, it is well worth teaching yourself. And that's a great example of, in things like Tai Chi, you have whole body movements. With this is perfect for when you can't take a step, when you can't extend your arms. I can show you Silat exercises that are done sitting, but the arms are moving and extending and doing all of this kind of stuff. And it does the same thing, but this is like, you ever seen those little chessboards that they fold up and they're only like this big and they have these tiny little pieces? And this is like that. You can play a whole game with this in this tiny little space. So yeah, perfect example of what I'm talking about here. So who all tried that as Cherie was talking about it? And how did it feel?
A little challenging. Yeah. The coordination for the finger circles was not quite there, but it felt, my hand feels great.
How about you, Soha?
It really helped me to, as Moshtaq was saying, move with the movement, with my attention to move with the movement. It's a very good skill for me to work with. Yeah.
How about you, Omar?
It seemed interesting. Nothing particularly special that did for me, but you know, it's a fun thing to look at.
Yep. Zainab, how about you?
The sensation has increased, and I think it would be very good for drawing when I'm doing. It would bring up the sensations to the hand.
Yeah, likely so. That's a good point. Yeah. I found it okay until I had to look at my hand and do it, and that's what threw me off. Yep. So the last part was hard for me.
Who did it with their dominant hand first, and who did it with their offhand first?
I did it with my dominant hand, yeah. Most
Yeah.
people did, yep.
From the beginning when she first told it to me, I started with my non-dominant hand, and now that has become a bit of a habit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually find it easier on that hand, interestingly.
Yeah, it's fun to realize that there's no such thing as a dominant and non-dominant hand.
Yeah.
What I found with the practice is what you think you're doing and what you're actually doing can be two different things. And this is what I meant about the thumb dominance.
Yeah.
The little finger or the ring finger is going, oh, I'm supposed to voluntarily move, but it's that micro moving of the thumb. So if any of you felt like, oh yeah, that's easy peasy, and you diss it, I actually recommend you go back and you watch how your thumb will do this little micro moving of taking over.
Yeah.
And that for me was, ooh, you know, like, stop kidding yourself. You're not really doing the exercise because you've started thinking about other things of, you know, how good you are or whatever. And
Yeah.
just, oh, my ego just jumped in there. And then I think, oh, okay, pay attention. And for the stretch therapy work that we do, Dave and I, these things that we've talked about before between the two of us is the capacity to listen to your body is much diminished in most people. They don't know that they're hungry. They don't know when they're tired. They will just ignore those things until those things are screaming at them, and then you have a problem. But why not actually just pay attention to the internal dialogue that comes back to you and says, I need this. I need this right now. I actually need a little power nap right now. And just go and do it. And your body just loves you back. And you think, so this exercise for me was me trying to recognize when I let the ego slip in and just do its thing, and I'm thinking I'm okay. Well, I'm not okay, and I'm not paying attention. So it's the small things, as Mushtak said. When I first showed it to Dave, he's swearing, but he said to me, "Oh, sure, that's a mind fuck." I mean, yeah. And when I started to go, "Woo!" I was more prepared, I think, to laugh at myself. And that was the thing. I was thinking, this walking meditation thing, I was a bit too distracted. I think, okay, I need to get back to something small and ordinary. That's what I like it. It's small and ordinary. There's no glamour to it. And if anything, for me who likes to do a million things, it was a necessary medicine.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense to me. So much talk. 8 months on, or whatever it was, how are you feeling about that practice?
I still find it incredibly useful and occasionally quite challenging.
Yeah.
And for me, there is this point where, you know, I'm doing my thumb and then I switch to my little finger, and it's like I have to change a channel in my brain, literally, to where I can start moving the finger and keeping the thumb still. And there's that, still to this day, there's that interesting little wobble in there until everything switches over.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, that just goes to show that it does take practice to really, for anyone who's transitioning out of this mindset of being channeled into this one mode.
Yeah.
We all need to practice that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm noticing a major difference between the dominant and non-dominant hand. I mean, the dominant hand seems to be fairly straightforward. The non-dominant one, I can barely do it. I mean, I can. It's really interesting.
Yeah, for me, I'm pretty good at keeping my thumb still, but I'm shocked at how bad the coordination is in my left hand. I mean, it's like I can't make the circles with my little finger.
We just need a little strengthening, that's all.
Yep, practice.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's strength. I think it's neurological, but something.
Mm.
Yeah, over the years, I learned a number of different manual dexterity exercises to keep my fingers limber and supple and everything. And this is maybe my favorite,
Wow.
just because it's so weird compared to most of them.
What makes it weirdest for you?
The amount of switching I have to do in my brain to do it.
Mhm.
It demands a serious neurological shift to do this well, because we're so patterned to experience our hands in a particular way, and this demands that we experience them in a non-typical way.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So now you have a micro chess set sort of meditation that you can take anywhere, and nobody, if your hands are in your lap, nobody will even notice. You can even shield one hand with the other and do these exercises. Nobody can see them.
There you go. No reason to be shy about it then. Ilmar, were you gonna chime in with something? I saw you unmute yourself before.
I forget what I was going to. I guess my question again is going to be, what are we trying to accomplish with this meditation? I mean, I can kind of understand what we're trying to accomplish with Zazen. I mean, at least in a sense, we're not trying to accomplish anything, but we're trying to get back to what's kind of a base state. Oh,
It would be exactly the same.
Can you expound on that? Because I guess I don't see that as clearly.
The base state is neither still nor moving, or it's both still and moving. There is no particular virtue in sitting still to meditate.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way for some people to get to that base state, but you can achieve that same base state just as easily through a moving meditation. For some of us, considerably easier.
Yeah, I think we may have our favorites, but I do think that's just a sign to explore other avenues and add a bit of challenge, perhaps. Because of the fact that we are trying to break out of the channels, the neural grooves that we've entered into and become stuck inside of over not just our own lifetimes, but perhaps our parents' lifetimes and our grandparents' lifetimes. We fall into these routines within our movements culturally, and that puts limitations upon us that may not be healthy and may be constricting for us, both physically and neurologically.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, what I'm finding interesting is that I seem to favor one pole rather than another. On the previous talk we had, I definitely favored the expanded rather than the contracted pole, and here I definitely favored the still rather than moving pole. And I'm going to be curious on the third dynamic, which it is, and that, I guess in a sense that is a contraction. It is a sort of a limitation to one's being in the world. So yeah, I can sort of.
And it doesn't matter all that much. If you have something that works for you, you do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, except I always found that sometimes doing the stuff that I don't feel comfortable with, like doing that concentration on that cube thing last time, or even doing the stinger thing, probably is something I need to work on just because I do kind of resist it, so
Yep.
I have to try this out.
You can ease into it though. In what I'm saying, I'm not necessarily saying do that to the exclusion of all other options. Yeah. And especially if it's something that you struggle with, it's good to go at it gradually so that you don't frustrate yourself, because that doesn't get you anywhere either.
Yeah, and because we have this understanding that meditation is not just one technique, but it is a pattern of these techniques that we can adjust for every person. If Nora is working with somebody and she perceives that they need a certain amount of movement and a certain amount of sound and a certain amount of broad focus, she will design a person-specific meditation.
Mhm.
And then all of the other students will go, well, why don't I have that meditation? And the answer is because you don't need it. You need
Mhm.
something different.
Yep.
Sounds much like cooking, right? You're creating some interesting dishes
Yes.
here.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of, you know, an array of spices to choose from. Yeah.
I have a question.
Good.
With running meditation or walking meditation, obviously there are a few different points that I can be aware, have my awareness on them. Should I just let them flow as I run, or should I allow myself to only focus on my legs per se? Or
No, you don't really focus. Well, that's not exactly correct. It will depend on how you run or how you walk. When I teach people, say, walking meditation, I watch how they walk. And I might have to change how they walk in order for it to be effective to use as a meditation. Because most people don't know how to walk. They walk poorly, and they have bad knees and bad ankles because of this. And sometimes that you have to do the remedial work, and that is a concentration on how you step, and you get your awareness into your step, and you find the natural way to step, and you find how your foot connects with the ground as you step, and all of this kind of thing. But then you learn to do that with your whole body as you walk or run. It's literally being present in your whole body and experiencing it as a machine that is designed to work together with itself, so that the arms are not separate from the legs, and the head is not separate from the pelvis, and the breath connects everything with everything, and kind of like that.
I was questioning something similar a few days ago as well, with when we say bring your awareness to your breath. Do I kind of go with it in a bit of flow, that the air is coming in and it's coming out? Or sometimes I catch myself when my awareness is going to my stomach, in my chest, and it's going to very specific part of my body when they're breathing. So I was wondering if I should just have a softer focus on the whole operation.
I would say try that. See how it works for you. I personally like the softer focus. And if that doesn't work, have a really tight focus and see how that works for you. Contrary to what the gurus tell you, there are very few wrong ways to do this.
Mhm.
There are a lot of right ways for this person or that person. And they just have to follow certain specific rules, like when you breathe, there are certain ways of breathing that don't work well for your body, like reverse breathing. A lot of Taoists like reverse breathing, but reverse breathing is not good for you. Reverse breathing is considered a pathological form of breathing for really good reasons. And so this is something that you have to bear in mind.
You want to explain what you mean by reverse breathing?
This is where when you breathe in, your chest and stomach contracts, and when you breathe out, it expands. No, reverse that. See, I don't even like to think about it. It's like, usually when I inhale, everything opens. But with reverse breathing, when you inhale, everything closes, and it creates this really, to me, incredibly unpleasant tension in the body. Anyway, we come from a school that says reverse breathing, don't do it. There are better ways to breathe. And like I said, a lot of Taoists would disagree with me, but I'm right and they're wrong.
As
What,
always.
arrogant? Yeah. I don't know how you put up with me.
You put up with me, so we're even.
Yes, it's true. But you're not arrogant.
99% of the time. Yeah. So yeah, these are good questions. Yeah.
Well, let me ask another question. I mean, what about internal movements? Like one of the things that I'm particularly working on right now in that Qigong thing is the internal motion of primarily of qi, but also of, of muscle and fascia and so forth. Do you have any comments on that? I mean, I suppose that's a form of moving meditation.
That's what I would think.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I find that quite challenging, actually, and but rather interesting. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, and I've known people who have been heavily into Taoist meditation, like the guy who Nancy has been learning from.
Who's Francis?
Yeah, he is capable. I don't know if he is now, but it used to be. He could roll up his spine one vertebrae at a time. He could create a wave up his spine that went from vertebrae to vertebrae. And that requires some serious physical control.
I've seen him move his skull plates.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I never saw that one, but I have seen a full spinal wave.
But we can start small.
Yes.
Yep.
Start with your thumb and your little finger. Work your way out from there.
Quite small. Yes.
Yeah. Pretty soon it's going to be rubbing your palm with your elbow, rubbing your elbow with your palm. But it will get to the point where you are rubbing the earth with your foot. And then if you're really good, you can rub your foot with the earth.
Oh my God.
And when you get to be a master, you can pat your head and rub your belly at the same time, right?
Exactly, Omar.
Exactly.
Yep.
And you can sneeze with your eyes open.
So, do we have anything left to cover, Mishka? Do we want
No, that's pretty much it. That covers the second axis. And next week we will look at the third axis, which is the silence versus the sound.
Mm-hmm.
As we say, shabd. You know that word, shabd?
Soha says nope.
Nope. It's Arabic, I believe. S-H-A, or Shin Be Dal. And it means the music, the sound, the joy, the happiness.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so we will be touching on the vocal / silent axis next week. Yep.
Yep, and we will move from just the vocal, you can sit around and chant a mantra, but you can also bear witness to incredibly spiritual music.
Yeah. Yep.
Or to the sound that the universe makes.
Mm-hmm. So that's stuff to think about that we will touch on next week. Yep.
So that's all I got.
Cool. Well, thank you for leading on that this week, Mishtak. I know
Sure.
that this is a big part of our tradition is moving meditation, and
Yeah, and next week it'll be more in your ballpark because you're the sound person.
yep, we'll see what we'll see how this unfolds this week, and we'll definitely have cool stuff to talk about when we reconvene. Yep.
All right. Any last questions?
Nope.
Nope. In that case, thank you all for being here, and
Yeah,
we'll
thank
see
you.
you next week.